If you edited your experiment after some people already participated in your experiment, then you'll probably have problems viewing your data. Let's say we have this experiment here with two blocks of stimuli. Initially, I only had the first block, and I gathered data just for the first block. Then, I decided to edit my experiment and add an additional block. Now, new participants will have data for both blocks, but old participants will only have data for the previous block. Makes sense. Before I go further, I'd like to let you know that the best solution for this is to avoid the problem in the first place. Don't edit your experiment after people have already participated in it. Instead, make a copy of your experiment and edit that instead. Okay, moving on. In TELLab, you can download data in three different ways. The first is to download the data from the most recent participant. The second is to download data for all participants. And the third is to download data from a specific date range. You can imagine how it might be problematic if I use the second option and downloaded all the data after having edited the experiment. One solution is to download data from a specific date range. You want to enter the date that the edit was made in the first box and enter a later date in the second box. This separates the old data from the new data. But this solution won't work if you have old data from the day that the edit was made. One thing to know is that the issue really only occurs when you download data in wide format. So another solution is to just download the data in long format, and you won't have to do this. Let me show you the data in these different formats using the experiment I mentioned earlier. This is the data for the most recent participant in wide format. These are the stimuli in block 1, and these are the stimuli in block 2. Below is the data for both participants in wide format. Notice how there's only data for block 1. This data right here did not transfer into the collective data. This is the same data in long format for the most recent participant. It shows both blocks 1 and 2, just as the wide format. If I look at the data for both participants in long format, I see only block 1 for participant 1, just as I should, and blocks 1 and 2 for participant 2. So you can have different sets of data in long format, but you can imagine how sorting would be an issue with more participants. So remember, the ideal situation is to have separate experiments for different sets of data.